Good morning. This is Newsline. Welcome and a very good morning to you. Joining me today is my colleague, Bandula Jayasekara. Good morning, Bandula.
Good morning, Faraz. You know, a lot of people says that, that you look like your dear friend, Arjuna Mahendran.
Oh, dear me.
What happened? Have they stopped you and said, are you Arjuna?
Actually, I want to share this little story with you. At the funeral of Reverend Sobita Tera, I was ushered in and given VIP treatment. I didn't have to stand in any queues. And having paid my respects, somebody came and said, please sir, can you sign the book? So I said, of course I can. So I signed the book, and I noticed somebody taking photographs. And having taken the photographs, he came and shook my hand and said, Mr. Mahendran, you're doing a great job. I said, I'm not Mr. Mahendran, and I don't think he likes me.
And are you doing a great job?
I am doing a great job. I don't think that he is, though.
So I don't know whether it's a curse or you enjoy this fame.
Oh, I don't know. I'm sad that I look like him, because he should be in Singapore. Or
yeah, but if
wherever.
Arjuna wants, double, maybe he'll give you a call.
But actually, now that we are on air, sorry, I would like to extend an invitation on air, because he doesn't answer our calls, for Mr. Mahendran, the Governor of the Central Bank, to turn up and be on our show, and we can ask him the questions up front.
Yeah, I think, and then to clear it once and for all.
And he can defend his position if he wants to. So there you are, an open invitation for Mr. Mahendran to come on our show. We'd also like to have Tilak Karunaratne, the chairman of the SEC, who promises to come on our show but hasn't.
And also Tilak Marapan. I mean, it's open to everybody. Our show is open to everybody.
Indeed. We
have no favorites.
We have no favorites. And we ask all the hard questions, don't we, Bandula?
Definitely.
Bandula, what is this business? What do you think about this Lankan maid in Saudi Arabia who's been sentenced to death by stoning? What do you feel?
No, I feel that we are not making enough representation. Now, there is an interview given by Sri Lanka's ambassador to Saudi Arabia, virtually supporting it. Now, I've seen a lot of websites, the thinking Muslims have brought it up. They said that he should resign, because we know like when Ambassador Sadiq, when he could, and the foreign minister recalled him on Rizana's case. But he's supposed to represent Sri Lanka and make our case, but he's not doing that. Instead, he's criticizing the Sri Lankan media for bringing this up.
Yes, but I think he has a particular difficulty in that he's trying to explain the legal status, and the legal status, of course, is under Islamic law, under the Sharia. If the charge is adultery, it's very difficult to prove. It's singularly difficult to prove, because you need 4 independent witnesses to the entire proceedings.
Yeah, but that's not his job to
explain. True.
Yeah, and then true. Now see here, look at we are talking women's rights.
Yes.
What about now? See, the man gets 100 lashes, the woman will be stoned to death.
Yes.
So I'm asking, where our friends like Ranjan Ramanayak, all this, they should take it up. I mean, Marika was saying, who was in the Sinhala program, that he'll take it up in Parliament. They should.
It's very difficult, and it's because the nature of the sentence. It's not the fact that it's the death sentence, but it's the
brutal. It's brutal,
the brutality
of
it. It's the stoning, and now that Saudi Arabia has come several leaps and bounds into sort of internationally accepted practices on many things, and they're also on the UN.
Some human rights council. This is, if you see the social media, the websites, the Facebook, I mean, this is ridiculous.
So nobody is actually questioning their law, but they are questioning the way the punishment is carried out. I'm sure thousands of years ago that may have been all right.
Even in Sri Lanka, I'm sure they had during the time of kings,
But Saudi Arabia, of course, is a country that imposed the same sentence on a member of their royal family. Princess Michelle was sentenced to the same thing, though at the last moment she wasn't actually stoned to death. She was shot. Nevertheless, it is something that globally people are concerned that this punishment is too barbaric.
Yeah, then what about the man? Man also should, it's
Yes,
different.
actually, in this case, the man was not married. He was single. And so his crime was lesser in the eyes of the Islamic law.
Yeah, but I wonder why are they even in like part of a heading one of the UN Human Rights Council? What's this so-called human rights defenders? What are they saying about it?
Indeed. But I think the ambassador should be plugging the cause of Sri Lanka, of course.
Yeah, definitely. And then the ambassador, Tasim, is blaming the Sri Lankan media for bringing it. That's wrong. You know how, because it's our right to bring this up.
Of course.
And in defense of Sri Lankans.
Perhaps we also should bring on our show the minister in charge of this foreign employment is Talita Atukorala.
Yeah, you have, I think, made a
We have
request.
tried many times to get Ms. Atukorala on our show, and she has claimed a very busy schedule. But on another point, it's a bit of a malady, really. Pre-election, we are sought after. Post-election, and then especially post-appointment, some people simply don't answer their phones, especially when it comes up and says MTV.
Yeah, but I mean, we can still play the role of the opposition. While
We are the opposition.
Yeah, and we are like, this is what finally for us they will have to answer. They will, be exposed. Things have changed, they'll be exposed. So that's what we can continue to do that.
We should, actually.
Because all this, I think we will continue to do that.
And what's your take on a good move, an equality move from the Minister of Finance in cancelling out the vehicle permits? Now, however, we are told that some sections of society, starting with the Parliament, but at pains, the Finance Minister gave us an interview last night, and he was asking us why it is we are only highlighting the parliamentarians, and I begged to differ. I said no, it's the GMOA and it's the SLAS and various other groups too. Why should one section of society be more privileged than the other? We understand the need if a parliamentarian is to be given transport and so on. Well, that can be done in the form of tax breaks or a travel allowance.
Yeah,
in the
definitely.
corporate world, that happens all the time.
And why doctors, lawyers and academics? What about the principals?
That's
These people can be, because if you look at it, our teachers,
Yes.
and they can be protected.
But
because-
it's a never-ending list, though.
Yeah, never. But then we should not give it to these people who have, like, see, they have got a free education, most of them.
Yeah.
It's all free.
Yeah.
And then after that, they live abroad. Then, this is what's happening in this country. So we can have controls.
We should.
And we still give them, 10 lakhs. So we give it to the correct people. That's all right. This is what I feel.
Yes, but I prefer, this is not something that I've learned from Dr. Wickramabahu, and it's not some sort of people's revolution, but our constitution is very clear, and it's in black and white. So the constitution of Sri Lanka considers you and I and our cameraman and everybody else to be equal, and that's written down.
That's only in black and white. It's
Yes,
not
but we
in
want to
practice,
see it in
unfortunately.
practice. Why should Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe or anybody else get a free vehicle permit? If he's doing a service to the country and being in Parliament, that's fine. And if you have to support him with transport, that's also fine. But he can be given a transport allowance.
Yeah, this reminds of what young Buddhika Patrana told us, about this honorable thing. He's going to bring that, because then they should be doing honorary service. And also, let's not forget the parliamentarians. After 5 years, they get a pension. Whereas others, people have to suffer for 55 years to get a pension. Why
And,
should they be given a pension after 5 years? At least make it 10 years.
That's right. This issue of the national pension has not been resolved.
Man, 10 years. Make it 10 years for a parliamentarian. And also let them say, tell the people, why not appoint a committee and say, well, how have you served your people? Then based on that, give them something. Then it's worth it. What's your contribution?
A sort of a value for money report. hard.
Yes, and from the Citizens Commission, we are talking of various commissions, have a Citizens Commission and say, look, we evaluate and say, okay, 10 years they have served, give them a pension. Why not?
But
So
I think,
do that.
But I think the parliamentarians shouldn't only be looking after their little corner.
That's what is happening. Even JP for us, which fought, which shouted, are quiet about it. Even JP. On this pension, they are not continuing with their campaign. Why?
I'm told that in Singapore, and Singapore is a model that is very favoured by our dear Prime Minister, that the ministers are and public officials are highly paid, in exchange for which they have a strict policy of not, if they get involved with their hand in the till, then the law will take.
That I agree for us. Even I have experience even in Canada. Take the police officers; they are very well paid.
Yeah.
So that's also a good thing. Then there's no corruption.
That's right.
So that's a good thing.
But I think in Sri Lanka we have a sort of penchant for not paying the right amounts. And take, for example, our tea industry.
Yes.
I'm told that tea, Ceylon tea, fetches a premium anywhere in the world, but that price doesn't filter down to the worker, the humble worker who's going out there early morning, gets up and puts on all sorts of layers of clothing to try and keep the leeches away, and they pick the two leaves in a bud and all that business, and they're not being properly looked after. They're earning around 12 to 15,000 irregularly.
Like you said, 12,000. That's
Yes.
and then they are, and I mean, the thing is, the politicians are fighting. We have seen like how the politicians are fighting.
Yeah.
In the plantations, have they done their job? Have they stood up? Like I think we discussed the old Tondaman.
Yeah.
I think he did some service.
And why is it, Bandula, why do you think that we are talking about members of parliament? I mean, last night the finance minister was taking me to task for talking about that. But I don't know if Mr. Karunaka appreciates that some of these people in parliament are more lucky because they shouldn't really be in parliament, because they've been elected, or some of them have been appointed. Some people who lost have been appointed. And that's why the public wants us to talk about it.
And I feel sorry for Ravi also. I mean, he has lost all the banks. Right?
Well,
As
yes.
the finance minister.
Yes, and somebody, obviously a good wit, said that the only bank that the Minister of Finance in Sri Lanka has is the blood bank.
That's very sad. I don't know where he prepared.
I don't know
the
if he
budget.
actually has the blood bank, but
Even the blood bank.
Yes, even the blood bank's not with him.
Why don't we invite him for this program for us? It will be good to have the Minister of Finance.
Indeed, we extended the invitation to him yesterday. We've always done, and so perhaps one day he will take time out of his very busy schedule to come on our show.
And this will be the time, for us, for him to answer.
Yes, he's very much the flavour of the moment.
And if you look at all the cartoons, he has become a star. All
He
the
is.
cartoons.
He's a big star. He's a big star, and he does work very hard. Well, or he keeps long hours, because we had an interview quite late in the night. So on that note, I think it's time for us to take a break, and do stay tuned to Newsline with Bandula Jayasekara and me today. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Newsline, and a very good morning to you. We're here with Bandula Jayasekara. Bandula, I notice from time to time that not only do people of some influence, mainly politicians or pseudo-politicians, wannabe politicians, or connected to politicians, whenever they do something and they end up in remand, they tend to end up in the prison hospital. And if they're a little bit more influential, then they'll go to the Merchants' Ward of the National Hospital, which can be comfortable or can be made comfortable. And then also, they apply to go abroad for medical grounds. What will happen if one of these people don't turn up again?
So that's, I'm sure, I mean, I have a feeling that some people may not turn up. So this is what is happening. So this is where, why is it happening? Like you and I have questioned this several times.
Indeed.
And it's happening. What about the ordinary person? They are always, this system has to change. They are harassed, they are bullied. This is what, they suffer even for the slightest thing. But these are huge, like major corruption. But they escape. So this is where this system has to change. But somebody got to change this system. So
it's a bit like the traffic police. I'm not trying to take them to task, but if you notice, it's always a three-wheel driver who's been stopped.
And not people, driving Benz car or big cars. They won't stop.
But having said that, I was in a car yesterday and I was stopped twice the same day. And I thought this is all because I'm espousing the cause of not catching so many three-wheel drivers.
Yeah, maybe, or they thought, this is Arjuna Mahendran and they want to get your autograph.
Oh,
maybe
that's entirely possible.
Yeah, the traffic cops.
But of course, they travel with a convoy and so on, don't they?
I didn't know that the governor of Central Bank travels with a convoy.
Well, no, but he doesn't, but he's got very posh cars and so on. He's being given the full works because, of course, he's an expatriate. On a work permit.
But like you said, this thing has to change. I think President should intervene and let's be equal. He's a common man, who became the president. This has to stop because of all these, because that's what I think people are asking for. Like we have discussed, this is like an old boys club. This has to stop. So people are like, really suffering. These people feel pushed and pressed and harassed.
Yes. Pushed and crushed.
Yeah, definitely. And then people who made a big hahoo about all these, they are also keeping quiet in Parliament.
That's right. And our friends at JVP must remain consistently vociferous, shouldn't they? Instead of being selective, because
it's no. So I think that is the frustration of the people. As even like our producer says, the response we get. So they said, give us a voice.
Indeed.
That's what they're asking you and the singular program to give us voice, and Sirasa and MTV
Indeed.
to give a voice. Where you feel for us they are so helpless.
Indeed.
They have just basic needs, but when it's happening like this, and that's the answer. So, and I also disagree when you should people have, we should not stop. We should stop comparing, what happened before and now.
That's right, because these answers about it happened in the past.
Yeah.
And it's like back to the bond issue.
Yeah.
Yes. The Prime Minister, our dear Prime Minister, in Parliament, he said that he's going to look into not only this latest 30-year bond that we've raised a challenge to, but he says not only that, he's going back 10 years, implying that the bonds that were issued in the Rajapaksa years were somehow or other tainted. But in actual fact, we had the Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, Mr. Vijayawardena, who was in charge of the Public Debt Department. And he told us that there is no such thing as private placements. There are things called money on tap, and they've been doing this since 1998, which is when it all started.
And also for us now, there's a big debate in India. Now, yesterday I was watching Rahul Gandhi, the Indian Parliament, and that big debate. What they are saying is that the government should listen to people. They are not listening to people like now, see, they are talking of intolerance, Narayan Murthy, Amir Khan, all they are saying people should listen. At least give a hearing instead of criticizing. This is what is happening. They are not listening. I mean, this is what happened to the previous government. These people also should listen to the voices
I
of the people.
think overall, in terms of this budget, the finance minister appears to have listened to industry, and so there are certain aspects that he needs to be applauded, really, like the reduction in taxes on branded goods, for example, so that the branded goods in Sri Lanka can compete with the region. So it's an added dimension to the Sri Lanka experience for visitors who come here.
Yeah, I know, but I agree with, but not only the budget, but general issues. Okay, now I must be honest. Okay, we are enjoying a sense of freedom.
Indeed.
But that is what happened. Everybody starts well, new broom, and then, people will not like criticism or comments. I'm sure you have experienced that. You
Yes.
got shot once, because, see, this is what is needed. I mean, we should able to, take constructive criticism, which doesn't happen.
Indeed, but of course we are unlikely in this day and age to have a white van turn up.
Yeah, but I also must add that, even within the system, this is really what I think the late Lakshman Kadragama was telling me, he said, son, you can fight within that system. It's not everybody, but you must be able to sacrifice it. You can.
Yeah.
So we should continue to. This is what people have fought.
Indeed, indeed.
So that's what is important.
What do you think is the single most contentious issue that attracts the public's interest? What is it? Is it the budget? Is it the payment of monies into bank accounts, or what is it?
Yeah, I would say they want answers for corruption. There were accusations, allegations, counter allegations. They want answers because the masses, the public feels under pressure. They say, why are we suffering? This is the thing. Marika, who was with me in the signal program, he said, okay, we need time, but they are impatient.
Yes.
So that is what, you say you're making a change. Let's make the change fast. So people, that's what they want.
Right.
Cost of living, certain things I understand. There was rain, the vegetable prices have gone up. That you can't blame the government.
No.
Because of the rains. But other things, that's what, our people are not revengeful.
Yeah.
But they say, why always get hold of the sprat? What about the sharks? That is what, irrespective of, they were against nepotism, they don't want nepotism now. That's what the public wants.
It has not been completely eradicated, of course.
Yeah, because you promise something, let's keep it.
Yeah.
This is what the frustrations are.
But it's so very tempting, isn't it, when you're in power, to slip your fingers into the till. It's a bit like, it reminds me of the EPF, ETF, the whole fund. It's about 1.7 trillion. But the point is that it's not the government's money, it's the people's money,
and
the workers' money.
Also for us, it's what really happens in our country. Suddenly now, see, you're in Sunday on the opposition, you lose power, then you become heroes, right? Then, people say everything is forgotten what you did.
Yeah.
Then also when these people come to power, also it's forgotten what they say, they're all fine. And then if you join the new camp, the people who have powers, then suddenly you're good.
Yeah.
This is what has happened in this country.
I think what you're trying to say, and the word is myopia. Sri Lankans are very myopic, our people, because they forget. And so we have a situation where yesterday's murderers or yesterday's bad men are today's politicians and today's legislators. And that's bad news.
And they tell us what to do, and they talk of rule of law. But I think this is what we have campaigned, MTV and Sirasa. It's not only about voting. You have to continue to put pressure, whereas other countries, for us, they do that.
Indeed.
As voters, you have the right to question. So you have the right to question and keep the pressure on.
Indeed.
Not as a political party. I think the politicians are smart to have divided all of us.
Indeed.
That's what they do, like even the trade unions, everybody is divided. So we have to stand up as voters, save the prices. We have to rise like that, not with the support of a political party. Like even iFood, even the May Day is hijacked by them. So that's where we have the right, ordinary citizens, the people's power.
Indeed, and just to remind the people about this people's power, is that here on our network we welcome any information that you may have on corruption or anything that you think is costing the public purse its money. So if you have any information, do send it in to MTV. The details will come up on your screen, and we will be happy to look into these matters. But
then I will see you carrying more files. We
indeed,
need more files.
we'll have to carry more files around.
I didn't. Where are your files these days? Where was those pink files?
Oh, we are working on those things. It's a continuous process. We haven't forgotten. There are many issues, and we hope to do a special one of these days.
And I think, like you said, if people send in, not anonymous, but with proof, I think it will help us to take it further.
And we can highlight these issues.
And we would not, we are not scared to name names. We will say what we have to say.
Indeed, indeed. So, and also, I don't know how much of this happens in Sri Lanka, but isn't it that the people must exercise their democratic right, and therefore they must not only simply finish the whole matter by giving their MP their vote, but it should be an ongoing engagement, so that when there are issues that they, almost everybody has got one of these touch phones, or they have access to the
photos, cameras.
That's right. And so, the digital divide is now not so big. It's very there. So they must use all these technological advancements to lobby their MPs on matters that bother them. So get hold of your MP's phone number, and at the least send him an SMS.
And also for us, they can, file public interest, they can go to courts, they can file. Where I know India, they keep on, and other countries also, they keep on, taking legal action on various issues. If you put pressure on them, they have to answer.
That's right. And so this people's power is very potent, and people mustn't really forget that they do have ongoing ability to to engage their members of parliament, because that's very important.
And there's also, we can remind that we should invite the legal aid. There's legal aid, some free legal advice, the Legal Aid Foundation, so they can go and sue these people. This is what people have to do.
A fair number of lawyers do work for free. And so you must tap into it, because there are enough lawyers and so on. And if you feel strongly enough to take someone to court, to petition the Supreme Court that your fundamental rights have been violated, then that's what you must do.
Yeah, I remember once in India when onion prices went up, people sued. This is what we got to do. Yeah. Then, we have a free judiciary now, and we can put this pressure.
Well, just as we're coming to the end of our show this morning, one of the subjects that seem to be talked about a lot is the issue of the all-electric cars, and why the finance minister has actually kept such a heavy taxation on that. In other countries, I think Mr. Marika spoke about it in your show this morning. In England, for example, they will give you an incentive if you buy an electric car. But the finance minister here says that whilst that is all true, he has reduced it, but we mustn't forget that we are still very much in need of funds. And that's so if you're going to buy an electric car, remember that you're doing your little bit for the country, because the country needs money.
But if we need money, I'm sure we are far too top heavy in the parliament. We can start from there. They can lead by example. They can reduce their vehicles. Still, they can reduce their security. They can lead by example.
Bandana, that's it for Newsline this morning. Thank you very much for being with me.
Thank you for
on Newsline. And a quick quote from Mr. Abdul Kalam. Black color is sentimentally bad, but every blackboard makes the student's life bright. On that note, Newsline wishes you a very good morning. Thank you, and take care.